Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff Johnson, your host of the Local Leaders Podcast, and we are super excited and thrilled and looking forward to the opportunity today to introduce you to a couple of new people, new faces that you probably hadn't seen before. But this is the Pimiento Bistro and Bar. We've got Joshua and Blanca here with us today. Blanca Rodriguez is the head chef and owner. And Joshua is the front of house manager and every other job that his mother, Blanca, decides he needs to do. Right, Joshua?
That sounds about right to me.
and thank you both for being on the show. Welcome, Blanca, to you as well. And we appreciate you joining us. Look forward to kind of hearing more about you guys and Pimiento Bar or Bistro and Bar. If you want to start out with, I don't know which one of you want to take this question, but if you just kind of want to share the story of the business and kind of how you got started and what you're all about, that would be awesome.
I have been a chef for the Seattle area for about 25 years, working for different companies. In 2010, I decided to open my own restaurant, and my passion for cooking European food, but also being the daughter of an amazing Mexican chef, I wanted to create some kind of fusion. And I went for it. Didn't really know if the location was going to be a success, but that's what I could afford at the moment. And 11 years later, we're still up and running there.
Nice. So you've got 11 years of history in the same building then, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Joshua, how long have you been involved in the business? All your life?
So I've been working there as long as the restaurant's been open. But the last 6 years I've been on full time. I left the University of Washington basically to pursue my full-time job at the restaurant. But in the last couple of years, I've been doing school again. So I've been there full time. Yeah, I want to say about 6 years now. Wow. But before that, I'd come on the weekends. I'd come when I have time off, and yeah, I've been there the whole time too.
Well, I failed to mention at the beginning for our listeners, but this is a family-run business, a family business that all of you guys who have family businesses that are listening to us today know how that is, and pretty much it's all hands on deck many times, and you got to get in there and take care of the work and get things done and make sure that you're providing the quality and the experience that the guests are expecting. So tell me, guys, how's it been working together as a family? Can you share a little bit about maybe the ups and downs associated with family and business?
Sure. Well, for me, I couldn't be proud of. One of my dreams was to have my first restaurant, and having my son being part of that dream. Mm-hmm. And not just that, but see him working as hard as happy and as professional as I am. For me, it was just like a win-win situation. When he was 13, 14 years old, he used to come in on Saturdays for a couple hours and do dishes. And I always tell him, you're my son, so you had to do the best job ever so everybody follows. And very responsible young man then, and he became my right hand. So he took a lot of my work and started making it his. And I really just kind of see him as obviously my son, but a partner. He helped with a younger mind. He helped promote a lot of things that I was kind of like a little bit behind: Instagram, Facebook. So the success of Pimienta for the past 6 years has been exceptional, but it's been because of what he has contributed to that, on top of the good food that I cook.
Yes, ma'am. And I hear it's all awfully good. And what a beautiful website you guys have, by the way. I haven't had the opportunity to see the place in person, but the website looks fantastic and very professional, very polished. And it's very inviting. So congratulations on that. Joshua probably was driving the website change too, I'm guessing.
Yeah, with the help of some graphic designers. I'm not big on graphic design, but social media and that's the new marketing. That's going to take over, right? Word of mouth and newsletters, flyers, all that stuff is the way of the past. So social media is really the best way to drive your business and bring in new customers, because everyone's on the phone, everyone's on the internet. And I think that's a huge part of a restaurant, which is pretty old-fashioned business, right? Like the brick and mortar, the restaurant store is there, but you can bring in a ton of new people if you really utilize the tools that are online. So I think, I had a pretty good starting point, right? My mom can make good food, and we had established customer base and all of that. And I was just able to come in, basically jump in as a younger guy and build on that, with some of the tools that I have.
Yeah, that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. And, and you're a younger gentleman, and some of us older folk like myself, we struggle sometimes. I don't know about Blanca, but I struggle sometimes with keeping up with all the technology. And you really, really have to invest time and effort into staying on top of your game when it comes to digital marketing these days. And the days of advertising on a menu and or a paper placement on the table and things. I mean, that still exists, but if you really want to get out there, you've got to have three things, I think, as a restaurant. You tell me if I'm wrong, but a good website, Facebook, Instagram. and you're rocking and rolling, and you got to keep those reviews going and all that good stuff too, which you guys have done a great job at. So congratulations on that. And do you have other marketing help, Joshua, or are you pretty much driving all that train?
I would say mostly it's myself and my mom that have kind of taken it over, but a lot of it can be automated. If you use the services through Google and Facebook, you're not even hands-on with the marketing, because they have strategies. They have people that are dedicated to marketing. You pay a fee or you pay a subscription, and Google is going to take over, and I didn't know a lot about marketing, but actually our last chef, who was with us for 7 years, Dennis, I give him a lot of credit for his help with building our social media presence and kind of teaching me about, digital marketing, because you leave that set up and you pay a fee every month or per advertisement or whatever it may be, and it'll drive itself, and once you find those people that come in once, then it's exponential. The growth is exponential, because word of mouth is still important in the restaurant, and we understand that, and that's why we focus so hard on getting 5-star reviews, because that's going to drive your business to the top of Google, the top of Yelp listings. All of that stuff it's automatic. It's tedious work if you're focused on the analytics and you're sitting there every night on your computer trying to find the right demographic of people and trying to find the right marketing campaigns. But I mean, these platforms, they drive it themselves.
Yeah.
We were very lucky, I gotta say. I'm surrounded by younger brains, Joshua being one of them, but my chef, Dennis Espinosa, he actually was starting to design websites when he started practicing with our website. And he did a fantastic job. The website's still there. So for people that we don't have the time, or we're just a little older than the new generation, I felt surrounded by younger people that were really, really helping us to create the social media.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, because it's the age they grew up in. So there's so much better typically at diving in and manipulating and knowing where to go and what to use and what platforms people are on. And, you know, that changes all the time. TikTok, now is a big thing. And, some people are even using that in their business and actually doing a pretty creatively good job with it. If you use it right. So there's just so many tools out there. Sometimes it's hard to decide, but I digress. Sorry, I got off on my tangent about marketing because it's near and dear to my heart. But tell me about kind of Blanca about your food. I mean, why is it special? How is it special? What is it that we can expect if we haven't been to your place before and we come to dine with you?
But you're gonna see a fusion. When I started cooking for my own restaurant, I had no rules to follow. I can cook a burrito if I want to, or I can cook a rack of lamb if I want to. And I went with my heart. I went with it. Everything, I know a lot of flavors from Mexico because of my mom and growing up with her. And I do have family I have a couple brothers and sisters that are chefs. So I'm always being surrounded by food. Yeah. Is when I spent some time in Italy, France, and Paris, that I decided that that's also one of my favorite cuisines. And when I opened Pimienta, I just cook what I feel I like. It doesn't matter if it's a mix of Latin with French. It doesn't matter if a beurre blanc is going to have cilantro. It's no rules. When I cook, it's just no rules for me. So I think it works, and that's what people like. That's what people like. I use fresh ingredients. I try to stay as local as I can. And it just comes from the heart when you create dishes. And I think people feel invited.
Yeah, I think so many chefs, you see different things when you talk to a lot of different owners, and, you have those investor type owners who aren't necessarily in the day-to-day business. They have one set of ways of doing things. And then the majority of people are owner operators, or chef operators and owners like yourself. And I always see a lot of passion. You have passion for the food, for the cooking, for the experience of, bringing your guests in and watching them enjoy the meal and have a great time and laughing and talking and all those kinds of things. Is that what you enjoy most about the business, Blanca?
Absolutely. Yeah. I can cook a dish, I can deliver the dish, and I can talk to the people. It's a very small restaurant for a reason. It's a reason why we don't have TVs in the restaurant, because we want that to be like a community social hour. Mm-hmm. And I know where the dish is going and know who's going to eat it. And sometimes I even watch the plate where they eat. And that's the beauty of having a small restaurant and family business with Joshua. And we have great employees. It just feels like home. It's fun to go and see the regulars and to see the new people coming in. It's probably very satisfying to me to have the opportunity to do what I love. And on top of that, to have my son doing it with me.
Right. And Joshua, speaking of that, what do you find is kind of the hardest part of your job? Because you've got a lot of different ones in the business. So.
Yeah. I would say it's tough. It's tough to nail what the hardest part is. There's a lot of moving parts to the restaurant, and on the back end, right? The actual service, the dinner service, is probably the easiest part. Once you're there, once things are running. But, you are managing a lot of different people, whether it's your employees or your customers. I mean, my ultimate goal, my job is to make sure that everyone is happy. My mom as the owner, myself, our guests. And, it feels like you're taking care of a lot of people. And I would say that's hard, but also it's one of the good parts, because it's so gratifying, to be there in the service business where customers are coming in the door because they want to, and you get to see them enjoy the food, and you chat with people and you serve them drinks. And Yeah, I would say the hard part is just managing, the flow of the restaurant, whether it's ordering and kind of tying in all of the moving parts together, because the ultimate goal is to have a smooth dinner service, right? We're a dinner only restaurant, so we have one shift to worry about. But there's just so many moving parts that once you tie those all together, I think that's the hardest part. And then you ensure a smooth dinner flow. I mean, and there's hiccups, right? Like we're two normal people outside of the business. Managing your work and your life balance is hard too. So those things kind of tie in together. But I would say it's that's probably about it.
Well, that's a good answer, because that's definitely a challenge is to deal with all the moving parts of a restaurant, because you've got to prepare for service, and you've got all that preparational piece, you got all the people you got to deal with and the issues that come up around people. The things, you may be out of this, or you get suddenly the cooler decides to not cool, and I mean there's always something that slaps you in the face, and as a restaurant owner, and makes for a more challenging environment. And the pace, man, the pace is what amazes me, is how you guys can handle the stress of, it's all wide open,
right.
Once you start. So kudos and hats off to everybody out there who's in the restaurant business and runs a successful restaurant, because it's not an easy task. I wanted to switch back to kind of, 8, 9, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when you got started, Blanca and Joshua was probably a little young at that time, but when you got started, what were some of the harder or bigger challenges that you faced in starting up? Was it raising money, or finding a location, or something totally different?
Finding the location was a big one. We live in West Seattle for most of Joshua's life, and trying to find a location that wouldn't take all your money on rent was very difficult. And that's why we end up in Federal Way. Mm-hmm. Because the rents were cheaper. And if you look at Pimienta, you have no idea what's inside those doors. I'm in front of a gas station next to a nail salon. So that was hard to turn that into a bistro that you will come in, you feel like you're in Paris, and don't look to the left and look at the car wash.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge to build, but an accomplished challenge. After 3 or 4 months, we kind of made it work that way. The location was definitely, it worried me that we were not going to be successful there. We were competing with a lot of chain restaurants around us. And we were going to be just something kind of unique, but I wasn't sure if I was going to have the crowd for it.
Right.
So the location, obviously the money, I tried to focus a lot on setting up a good kitchen, and then trying to get most of the stuff that we open Pimienta with is like a secondhand use materials. Mm-hmm. We turned a teriyaki place into a bistro from Europe. And that was challenging financially, and it took a lot of thinking to do.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine that it would be, because I can sense what you had envisioned, for the brand to be, with the European flavor and Paris and the bistro and all that. And when you're looking from the parking lot and you see the complete opposite of that, it's difficult to figure out how you're going to execute and pull it off. So I imagine that it probably did cost you more time and money than you initially expected. I would
Absolutely.
Imagine. Yeah. Were you able to borrow to get the business started? I know that's a little personal, but we have a lot of listeners who are, trying to get that first place open, and I'm trying to give them some ideas how to get creative and find a way to do it. Were you able to borrow money, or did you need to, or were you able to do?
I did needed to borrow, not too much. Like I said, we got very creative, and the reason why that spot was the location I choose, it had 75% of the kitchen already in. So the people that left some refrigerators, some equipment that I was able to use. And thanks to that, when I rented it, the equipment was already there, most of it, the hood and everything that is very expensive. So I had to borrow a little bit from friends and family, but nothing huge. That and my savings, we were able to do it.
Yeah, that's encouraging. And really today, and with today's market, there's a lot of real estate available for restaurateurs and business owners in general, and landlords, can be creative. And so I would encourage you to get as creative as you need to be to get your dream started. Like Blanca has been able to do. And we've got some podcasts that where we talk to some folks that are have been able to do some creative financing and things like that. So I encourage you to check out our other podcast. And if you're looking for funding or figuring out a way to get the money to start up, hopefully we can give you some help, or you can reach out to me directly. But again, I get off track really easily, guys, so I apologize.
Well, that's the joy. That's the joy of having a conversation. There's no script.
Yeah,
everything is just natural.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Yeah. And I'm trying to get better for our listeners at finding those nuggets of information and really picking your brain, so to speak, to get the gold out of all the things that you had to go through to get where you are today, and to have an 11-year-old restaurant. I mean, that's incredible in its own. How many people,
Yes.
how many restaurants closed down, in the first couple of years? So the fact that you've made it long-term is a testament to your hard work and your dedication and your abilities and your commitments, because, I'm sure it's not been an easy road, and you're raising your family, with the restaurant. So many of our listeners are doing that. How about your staff? How big is your staff outside of you two? How many employees do you have?
I would say, let's see, if I count in my head,
6.
we have 7 employees total.
Okay.
So we have 7 employees total. And yeah, that's right now, it's one of those challenges, because over the last year, as so many restaurants went through closures and shutdowns with the state mandates, we were unfortunately not able to keep 2 of our key players, and that's in the kitchen. The front of house is able to really be like, you can adapt and you can make it work. But in the kitchen, you need consistency and you need people that know what they're doing. And so many restaurants now are trying to hire, that it's tough. Retention is a big issue. Pay is a big issue. And it's not as simple as just offering more money. You need to find qualified candidates, and they're hard to come by right now, because people are switching industries, and good on them. Good on them. It's a tough business to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, things will level out, and there's going to be more people coming into the workplace. But we're a small enough operation that, regardless if we're running one person in the front, one person in the back, we're going to make it work. Even if it's busy, we're going to make it work.
Right. And that's, you have to do what you have to do. But as you said, the industry is really challenged with people, and, and I agree with you. Some people say it's, may disagree, but, I think the industry has lost employees. They've gone on to different careers, and, that there's just not enough there today. And they've done that because, I guess they found opportunities that were more advantageous to them, whether it be the benefit side of working in other industries, or the pay, or what have you. And operators like yourselves are really struggling with trying to find a way to keep their employees more happy with their compensation and the benefits and the bonuses and everything that you can possibly do to pay people, to work with you and provide a quality of life for them and their families. But you can't do that on, a 5 to 8% net margin. There's no money. There's no money. So somewhere, something's got to give. And typically the easy answer is we've got to adjust the pricing out there, and consumers' expectations, aren't there. They don't understand. And they don't want to absorb that cost. But at some point it's got to change. There's just got to be a better way to make it work. And we hope that, people listening and you guys and all of our guests will listen to one another and maybe find some creative solutions to it. But there's just no easy pill to take to fix it.
I feel like right now, if you made it through COVID, and right now after COVID, a lot of the business, we are really busy, which is good. And right now, the issue that I'm finding, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are, prices on the food they up 15-20%. To hire somebody new, you gotta offer pretty good money to be able to even get help. So between food going up, and like you mentioned, you can raise prices on your menu, but it's only so much you can raise on your pricing.
Right.
So this is almost the after COVID. You made it, and now is the situation we're in. It's almost like you're just gonna keep driving by, and then at some point everything will hopefully level out.
Yeah.
But it's tough for a lot of us right now, I think, because of employees, and the almost demanding, or you shouldn't use demanding. It's almost like you're required to pay more so you can take somebody. And on top of the food prices, absolutely ridiculously, they to the roof right now.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. The labor and the food costs both are up, and that's your prime cost and the biggest expense that you have, and it's difficult to operate, and everyone's looking for answers. We all hope the food pricing will come back down, but the food people are experiencing labor shortages as well. So their capacity has shrunk, and it's just a domino effect throughout the industry. So if you were talking to a new restaurant owner or somebody that's beginning, thinking about just jumping into the business, what would you tell them is kind of the most important pieces of advice that you might give them before they made that investment? Either one of you.
You got to really know the business. You have to have the knowledge of what food cost is, and you have to have the knowledge of, you can't just drive the back of the front. You have to educate yourself about cost, from one straw to a pound of New York steak. You gotta know your business all around it 100%. And you gotta be ready to work really hard in any position that you're gonna have to.
Right. And
so my advice will be to look at the whole business, make a plan, know your numbers. And I had a lot of experience because I worked for Nostrum. I worked for them for 12 years. I learned a lot about structure, about cost, about labor, about customer service. And I'm grateful for that, because that's probably why we are successful. But my advice will be just get involved in every single angle of the restaurant before you open, so you know.
Yeah, great advice. How about you, Joshua? You've been there long enough now to have some thoughts on advice.
So I would say my biggest piece of advice is to not let the location fool you, because I haven't been in the restaurant business my whole life. My mom's been working in restaurants for many years. I've been there, right, 10 years. And what I've seen, because we have 2 restaurants and they're both in niche little weird, they cater to little niche markets, and they're off the main strip, and they're not glitzy, and they're not glamorous. And for a lot of aspiring business owners, you don't have the money to take on some sort of beachfront place. And I would say don't let that discourage you, because it's so easy to get in over your head with just the property. And both of our places are successful in, smaller kind of quirky communities, in places you wouldn't typically see a restaurant succeed. And if you're going to try and cater to a niche market, go for it, because we have great clientele. We're very regular based. And I would say, strategically choose a location, right? Something that maybe a restaurant that went out of business somewhere weird, don't let that discourage you, because there's so many prime locations, but it's just too costly. And if you find somewhere kind of weird, kind of off the main strip, that could just be the reason that it drives your success. You have lower costs, and I can see that in our Federal Way in Pimienta, because right, we didn't have $1 million to start the place. We couldn't compete in the city of Seattle, against celebrity chefs, against rich people that are owning these restaurants.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard if you jump into a saturated market, right? Somewhere like a strip mall area or a shopping center, right? You're competing against so many people. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, because that's where I see our success.
Yeah, it's good advice on the location. And what makes me think of is I've kind of talked about that in several podcasts before, and different owners have different perspectives. And the way I would paraphrase that is that, the way I would explain it, I should say, is that some owners, when they're looking at location, they go into the location with the brand in mind, and they make sure that the location fits the brand. And then other people go into the location with the opposite mind, and they fit the brand to the location, right? So, it depends on the opportunity. If you're really, trying to be aggressive and find great opportunities and reduce your cost of getting started, you can do like you guys did and make the brand fit make the location fit the brand. And
right.
It was a little more costly at startup, but the other option would have been to find that perfect location where it just fit right in, but your operating costs for years to come would have been double or triple maybe what they are today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting. Go ahead, Joshua. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, with the fitting the location to the brand, you have to think about which customers you want to bring in, right? Are you just trying to focus on higher end people, or are you trying to have an inclusive restaurant? They can be for families, it can be for couples, you have a wide range. And our menu is across the board. We have simpler items, and we also have, higher dollar, nicer items. And I think, I'm not saying you have to be totally family friendly or, cater to kids directly, but the location really ties into your customers. Just drive around the neighborhood, see what kind of houses there are, see what apartment complexes there are. And, you can determine who you want to cater to that way. And you open it up to a broader audience, you're setting yourself up for success right away. And Federal Way, it was an interesting location. People always ask us, why'd you open in Federal Way? Because it's really a town that you pass through. There's a lot of commerce, not a lot of commerce, I meant. And there's there's no downtown. It's a really odd city. It's a lot of residential, a lot of suburbs, there's industrial areas. And, it was kind of not a crapshoot. But the simple fact was we couldn't afford the city of Seattle, and I'm sure you have listeners that are aspiring restaurateurs in Seattle. And it's a hard city. It's a hard city to open in because it's costly. And, the tax structure is very oppressive at times. And, you pay back into the system. I'm going to go on a tangent if I keep talking. So
that's okay. Hey, I wanted to backtrack and just just let you mentioned you guys have a second restaurant or second brand, if I caught that right. Do you want to give it a quick plug?
Yeah, our second restaurant has been open for 6 years, and that is called Greenbridge, one word, Greenbridge Cafe.
Okay.
And that is between West Seattle and White Center.
Got it. Greenbridge Cafe.
And that's
Well,
what we're strategically parked outside of right now, actually.
Well, all we had to do was get the car in front of the sign. We would have had it, right?
You can see maybe across the street for the YouTube viewers. There's our Green Cafe.
That's pretty cool. I love it. Love it. Well, it's amazing that not only do you have one successful location, but you've actually got two. So you got to split your time between them, I'm sure. And we didn't even get into how you handle both, which is
maybe that'll be on the next episode when you have us on again.
Yeah, we can talk about the challenges of running two different brands or two different ventures, because it's a lot of people think that you get scale, economies of scale when you go to the second and third and fourth locations, and you do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the workload's not equal to or more than the first one.
Absolutely.
And we all want to think that, hey, we're better at it on this second round. We can spend half the time and be just equally successful, but it doesn't always work out that way. But thank you guys so much. I just looked at our time. I realized it's a little bit later than I thought. I've kept you for a little while, and
Okay.
I want to be respectful of your time. Is there any parting words that either of you or things that you wanted to comment on that I haven't inquired about or given you an opportunity to say?
No, I thank you for the opportunity. This is great, and I'm glad that you reach out to us, and this is great to put it out there for anybody that can grab anything they like from this conversation, either to for people that are opening business or for people that are struggling on business. And I really thank you for the invitation.
Well, and we thank you for taking time out of your schedule to help us and support the cause and give back to the restaurant business industry. You as well, Joshua. We appreciate your time as well, and I wish you both the very, very best in all that you do going forward, and hope that we have great success. And anyone who has not had the opportunity, to come out and enjoy a meal with you guys, please get to the Pimiento Bistro and Bar as soon as possible, and enjoy a drink, enjoy some food, and just enjoy time with the family, which is really what it's all about and what Blanca loves. And I'm sure Joshua does too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you again, guys. And for all our listeners, we appreciate you joining us for another episode of the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thank you.